Golf Podcast, presented by Golficity, where we bring you the tips, instruction, and support you need to get the most out of your golf game. And now your hosts, Frank and Mike.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 177, brought to you as always by Golficity. Today we're going to bring Cordie Walker from Golf Science Lab on the show. He's got a lot of awesome things to share with us. We're going to talk about diving deep into the research, becoming a real expert student of the game. We're also going to update you guys on the live leaderboard of the Golficity Virtual Open, which is going on right now, and you can still get in there and be a part of it. Mike and I, we're actually going to be logging our round in a couple days. I'm excited about that. We're going to put our tournament round together, and we're going to be doing another vlog episode about that, which should drop on YouTube about the time that this episode's coming out. So make sure you subscribe to the Golficity channel on YouTube so you don't miss that. And allow me to introduce you to my golf partner here, the guy hosting the show with me for unbelievably 4 years now. Mike, What's going on, man?
Yeah, man, 4 years. It's been a great run, Frank. I'm loving it. Love talking golf with you. Listen, I know the Open is underway, and I cannot wait to play with you on Friday. The weather is looking really nice, and we haven't played in a while, so I'm really looking forward to it. Shot an 85 today, playing really well. Golf game is in tune, but I got to be honest with you, because more important than my golf game, I was decked out today at this outing from head to toe in Atlas Premier gear. You know, we've been talking about them for a while on the show, and everyone's been coming up to me and like feeling my material, you know, like the classic Seinfeld line, saying
right.
like, they're like, what is that? Where do I get that? So, I'm super excited about these guys. I mean, we love these guys at Atlas Premier, right, Frank?
Yeah, they just exploded on the scene. And if you try their stuff, you'll know exactly why. It's like the highest quality stuff you can get. I love their golf polos like you talk about, but the other thing I'm loving is these workout tees. I mean, like super comfortable. And the other thing I love is that these guys are true fans of the show. They give back constantly. We're actually giving away $200 worth of Atlas gear in our Facebook group every week. So if you're not in our group, it's free. Just search the Golf Podcast on Facebook. You got to make that a priority. Jump in there. All you need to do to qualify for these weekly Atlas Premier giveaways is join the group. If you're in the group, you're entered. It's that simple. And the guys at Atlas Premier, like I said, they've been so great to our listeners. They keep offering these amazing prize packs. We can't thank them enough.
Yeah, it's simply a no-brainer, Frank. I mean, and the group's even closing in on about 600 diehard fans right now, and they are loving these giveaways. I mean, why wouldn't they? You know, and of course, I really love how we stepped up our game this year with some really cool gear from Atlas. So please show them some love. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Atlas_Premier. You can even check them out right at their website, atlaspremier.com. And now's the perfect time to rework your wardrobe because they are giving an exclusive discount for our listeners. This is amazing. It's 25% off your order with the code Golf Podcast at checkout. That's one word. These guys are growing like wildfire and their deals are not going to last. So definitely jump on that. You can get a whole wardrobe for 25% off. So check them out, atlaspremier.com for more.
Okay, Mike. So before we bring Cordie Walker on the show, Cordie, as you know, is the host of the Golf Science Lab podcast. Before we bring him on, I want to quickly talk about Reven Optics. You know, are you tired of, scratched sunglass lenses? I'm sure you are. And if you're like me, you know, it's really tough to see the golf ball with scratches in your way. But get this, instead of buying new sunglasses, and we know how expensive they can get, instead of splurging for a whole new pair, you can simply replace the lenses fast and at a great cost.
Yeah, I mean, especially for these expensive Ray-Bans that we're all wearing, you know. So here's what I love about these guys at Reven Optics. The high-quality replacement lenses for any brand. I mean, you name it. Any brand starting at just $24. So right on their website, you can choose from a wide variety of tints, colors, including the golf performance lenses engineered to enhance your vision, which I think is pretty cool. So join over 500,000 customers, and you'll get 20% off your first order with coupon code GOLF at RevenOptics.com. Okay,
so Mike, a couple things I want to go over. First of all, let's just do a quick recap of where we're at with the Golficity Virtual Open. If this is your first time listening to the show, you may not have heard. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks. We are hosting our first ever virtual tournament. So you're playing real golf. You're playing at your home course. You can pretty much play just about anywhere. I know the app that we're using to run this, 18 Birdies, everyone's loving it. It's available. It has, I think, over 17,000 courses on it. But the good part about being virtual is that we can finally create a tournament where our listeners who are spread out all over the world get a chance to kind of play, competitively against each other in a fun way. You know, it's really cool in the app. There's like a little feed on there so you can talk to each other. You can do stuff like that. But it's one round, very simple. We're using net scores because I know that we have people who run the wide range of handicaps. And this way we're kind of leveling that playing field. And so far, everyone who's posted their scores say they're just loving it. They're having a great time. And the field is growing tremendously, Mike. Just as of right now when we're recording this, I'm looking, we've got 201 players in the field. And
wow.
We've put together a lot of great prizes. We're giving out prizes to the top 30 finishes, including, you know, a $500 Atlas Premier gift card. We've got some Arcos drivers we're giving away, a number of different things. But the cool thing is you can keep an eye on the leaderboard. It's a lot of fun to watch where you are. We actually just got a new leader.
Really?
Yes. Look at that. At 11 under. Now, again, like I said, that's net scoring. But this is what's so great. Some of these guys, you know, they're coming in and they're just putting together some really great rounds. But we've got, looks like so far we've got quite a few, maybe 60 scores logged. So definitely check that out. Check out the live leaderboard. We're talking about it a lot in the Facebook group. So if you're not in that group, make sure you jump in there. A lot of guys are sharing pictures from their rounds, sharing how their rounds went, even some videos in there. So I'm loving seeing that. It's one of the cooler things we've done. And we're definitely going to keep this going, Mike. This is kind of a test. We're doing a 1-round simple tournament. As we roll through this, we're going to start talking about doing some multiple rounds. Cause I know a lot of guys are saying, oh, I want to do a multiple round. It's all coming. We're working on it. We hear all your feedback, guys. We're going to keep working on getting some multiple round tournaments, and this thing's open to everybody. So hop in there for sure.
Yeah. Baby steps, right, Frank? I mean, I envision this thing growing to 1,000 players at some point, and we're giving away trips. All right. Yeah. We're going to build up for that, you know? But in the meantime, I'm stoked about Friday because I'm coming off my best round I played probably in about a year. I played really well today and everything was working for me. So I'm hoping that transitions out onto this course that is pretty easy from what I remember. I mean, we played it with 3 clubs only. There was a 3-club challenge. So, I mean, I didn't even see the back 9, but hey, we'll see.
Dude, it's great. We actually played the back. Remember they put us out on the back.
I'm sorry. So the front 9. So
yeah, you got to see the front.
I'm looking forward to this water hole, this par 5, which I can drive the green
hole,
or something.
Oh man, see that's what's going to set the tone for the whole day.
Can I drive the green on this par 5?
You probably could, but it would be the riskiest shot you ever took.
Imagine I started the tournament off with like an albatross.
Oh my God.
You know, I got a 2. I was on in this one putt. No, that would be pretty.
But that's the thing. It's sneaky. It's sneaky because it looks so easy. What it is for anybody, you know, obviously you can't see it for everybody listening at home. It's a par 5. It's a huge U around a lake. So if you went right from the elevated tee, it's like a dead, you know, as the crow flies, so to speak, it's about, I don't know, 290 yards to the green.
Yeah, I'm not going to try that.
But the hole itself, I think it's a par 5 plays just under 500 because they play it around it. It's supposed to be like a 3 shot. If not,
you got to hit 3.
Usually I try to do 2, but 2 is still coming over the lake twice. And it's a tight little green. It's very small.
Is that the first hole?
That's the first hole.
Yeah, it's a great start.
It's a great start because it messes with your mind right off the bat of like, what are you going to do? But that's going to be great. We're going to videotape that. We're going to do that as a vlog episode because I know a lot of great feedback on YouTube from the vlog. A lot of guys are having a good time just coming along on the ride with us as we play these different courses. So definitely check that out. A couple other things I want to talk about before we get into tonight's interview, which I'm psyched to talk to Cordie. One thing is, Mike, it's very rare that you can say like definitively, especially when you've played golf as long as I have for like 20 years, but to be able to say definitively that I hit the best shot of my life, you know, sometimes you can say, yeah, that was one of my better shots. I can say definitively the other day, I hit the best shot of my life.
Come on.
So get this, right? You know how I haven't been playing because I had the baby and whatever. So 3 weeks, hadn't swung a club. I talked about that on the last episode. Finally, it was like the afternoon on Sunday. I got the golf course, you know, right in my backyard. So my wife's like, things settle down a little bit. The 3-year-old is in for a nap. The 3-week-old is kind of like calm for a moment, which my house has been mayhem, but it's calm for like a moment. My wife's resting. I'm like, while you guys are all resting, I'm going to walk out there. I'm going to walk 9 holes. I'll be back as quick as I can get back. Right. So just going to play 9. So I start playing. All of a sudden I'm like, I'm playing really well. Like I start the first hole off terrible, but then after that I start playing really well. I'm like par, birdie, right? And I link up with this other guy who's a single out there, and he sees me birdie that hole. He's like, great putt. I'm like, thanks. It's so great when you have somebody who actually witness things when you're actually playing well.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
So we start playing, we play the 2 par 5s, and then we get to the par 3, which is the 16th at my track here, right? So for those who don't know it at home, it's about 125 yards to the pin, slightly downhill, par 3. Right behind the green is a wall of trees. So I hit my tee shot. I blade it, right? So I don't get any height. And because it's slightly downhill, it just carries the whole green, goes through the trees, and ends up on the other side. Now, on the other side of those trees is the next tee box. So it's not like it's woods. It's wide open, but there's a wall of trees that separates the two.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm looking at this ball. It's in the rough, deep rough, but it's kind of fluffed up. Like it's held up halfway through the blades of grass. And we've talked about this. We had a whole episode that we did on the flop shot, right?
Flop shot, right.
And what did I say? I said, listen, flop shot is a low percentage shot. It is literally a last resort shot. But I'm looking at this. I have no other chance. I have no other shot. I can't punch it low. The trees basically come all the way to the ground, right? And just to kind of set this up, the trees in front of me are roughly 20 feet tall, evergreen trees, 20 feet tall, and I'm about 10 feet from them. Right on the other side is the green. I got nothing to play but a flop shot. So I pull out now my playing partner is on the green waiting to putt. I pull out and he's like, good luck. I wouldn't want to be you. You know, that whole usual story.
Right.
I pull out the 60, open the stance, open it up almost flat. I open this thing up. So it's like 80 degrees and I just swing. This ball gets up about a foot, carries over the trees by about a foot, lands and stops 6 inches from the cup.
Yes.
6 inches. This guy's freaking out. And I didn't even know the guy. I just got linked up. He's joking. He's like, I would have paid admission tickets to see that. You know, and then he's like, don't bring your putter up here. So all that I end up parring the hole. But what really made me feel good was that people saw it. Because it's where there's a lot of holes come together. So now these other guys come driving over from the other hole just to come over and tell me like they couldn't believe it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. How cool is that? So these guys come flying down in their golf cart. They're like, oh my God, like that was ridiculous. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back too much because trust me, I could hit that 10 times and not hit it again.
Yeah. Right.
But you still got to learn something from everything like we talk about here on the show. And I'm like, all right, I can still even learn something from this. And the thing I learned from that is that, and I think what worked for me is knowing that was the only shot I had, is that I fully committed to it.
Yeah.
How many times do you not commit to that shot? You decelerate, you blade it into those trees, or you don't hit it with enough. I just literally was like, I just committed. I took a full swing at that thing.
I was going to ask you, what was your percentage swing on that? You just all the way through, 80-degree wedge. It
was a full swing. I was about 80% speed. But full swing, like full backswing, everything. It's just, I had that sucker open. Now I had a little bit of help because that ball was not, was just propped up a little bit off the ground, but it just, as clean as you can come through something. And it just went perfectly straight line and just fell right on that cup. He thought it was in. It was crazy, but, that felt so good. I just carried that on after that. And I'm hoping to carry, like you today playing so well, I'm hoping to carry that momentum into our tournament round. But man, definitively best shot because it was execution. It wasn't just like something like luck. Sometimes you hit like a great shot, but you're like, there's a little bit of luck there, right? This was exactly. Like, I did what I planned. That's what made me feel good because we talk about all the time about strategy than execution. I like strategized. I realized that's my only shot. The only other thing I could have possibly done was punch out to the right around the trees and then have another chip shot towards the green rather than going over. But I'm like, I'm going over them. A lot of risk because if I had hit him into those trees, that probably was dead. But still.
I wouldn't have talked with you the rest of the round if you did the other thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be really cop out.
Definitely not. You made the right move. You got lucky. I'll give you that because you definitely got a little lucky. Like you said, you probably couldn't do that again if you wanted to. But that's awesome. I wish I witnessed that because I love shots like that.
No matter what, when you're talking about hitting it 6 inches from the cup, there's a little bit of luck there.
Of course.
All you can really do, and all I did in that situation was I was just trying to get it on the green. My only focus was clearing those trees. Whatever happened after that, if I was putting my next shot, I'm happy. So I lined it up with the pin and just said, just get it over the trees. Like have one simple thought. And that's what I did. And the only way to get it over those trees is to commit to it. So
right.
Anyway, really great thing. I felt good about it. If you didn't get a chance to listen to our episode on flop shots, go back and check that out. It was just a couple episodes ago. And, it's just a good thing to have in your bag because every once in a while, it's like I said, it's not a shot you want to be playing often, but when you're stuck like that, do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So another quick thing that I know I'm just kind of switching gears, but I want to get your take on this too. You and I were like, we're always on Instagram. I love there's so much cool stuff, golf stuff going on Instagram, but you see this trend, right, Mike, of guys running each other over with golf carts?
It's funny. I mean, the only funny thing about it, I guess, was the first video or maybe the first two, because I haven't seen that before. Just guys intentionally full speed running over somebody on the golf course. I mean, that's pretty funny when you see it for the first time. But when you keep seeing it,
I know, and
they're getting worse and worse, and guys are getting crunched underneath. And of course, you got the guy the other day who broke his leg. I mean, insane. I mean, after a while, I'm just like, I don't want to watch it anymore.
I know. Like the first time I saw it, I thought that it was fake because they ran this guy flat over, went right over him.
Yes.
And then the car was on the other side of him after that. But anyway.
That one I think was fake.
It had to be. But
that one I think was fake.
It just kept getting more and more savage. Like even like older dudes running people over. This one poor guy, he's at a tournament. He's putting the signs in and they ran him over. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my God, like you can't look away because it's like a train wreck, so you're looking at this thing and it's just getting worse and worse. So then all of a sudden that consciousness, that stream of like everyone, like it gets into the public consciousness. And now there's people who want to be Insta famous. So what are they doing? They're running each other over. I saw guys getting run over where a guy gets knocked into a lake, all this stuff. And they're posting them and like, yeah, everybody's looking at them because it's funny. But I kept thinking, Mike, someone's going to get hurt, man. Eventually, these carts are no joke. They probably weigh about 500 pounds and you run someone over at like 20 miles an hour, right? So I'm like, this is a mess. Somebody's going to get killed out there. And I'm sure the golf courses like are looking up their liability insurance like as we speak.
Right.
But then it happened. It was only a matter of time. It's like you said, one of the accounts posted it. A guy's leg is shattered. Like I can't even look at it. I'm like, I don't like that type of stuff. It's disgusting. This guy's leg is shattered. And I'm thinking about this and I'm like, Mike, I'm all for some practical jokes out there. Whatever. Unstrap the bag. Let it fall off as I'm driving away. Whatever. As long as you don't break my clubs, it's funny. But if someone ran me over, I think they'd forget about it. I'd wrap my 7-iron around them because it's crazy. You could take somebody out of their game. Like this guy with the shattered leg. I don't know if he's going to walk again, let alone play golf. I mean,
yes, seriously.
I mean, like, take it easy,
I don't know, man. I'm like you. If someone did that to me, forget it. I think all bets are off at that point.
Yeah. People might laugh and say like, oh, I'm no fun, but come on. Maybe you get your jokes another way because this is getting crazy. Like I said,
it is getting nuts. I agree.
And I always think myself with like the bad back. I got like all these episodes we do on that. If someone plowed it to me the way these guys are bouncing off these windshields, I don't think I'd get up.
You'd be done.
I'd be done.
You would be done.
We had to do a couple episodes from my hospital bed.
A couple.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So anyway, I had to get my 2 cents in on that. That's just like that's just crazy thing to see.
It's nuts.
Anyway. After my rant, I don't want to eat up too much time, but hey, I'd love to know what everybody else's thoughts are on it. I know we posted a little something in the Facebook group, but let us know. I mean, if you're all for it, then fine, be all for it, but just take the target off the guys' backs who you think are going to not exactly enjoy it if you ruin their entire game. But, yeah, check it out.
Listen, just if you want to get him, just go back to untying the guy's golf bag off the car when he drives away. The bag falls off. That's the old trick, but nobody gets hurt, right?
Well, some of these guys too, like it's fine. They volunteer for it. You see these guys getting dragged around and they're drinking or whatever. Fine. At least those guys have volunteered for it. But these other poor guys, they're in the middle of a backswing and they just get run over.
I can't help but to laugh though. It's hysterical.
Well, that's why it's so big on Instagram because it's funny, but it's like it's funny until somebody runs you over.
Yeah. True enough.
So it's crazy. Anyway, let's not take up any more time because I want to get a chance to talk to Cordie. So let's do a quick word from our sponsor and then bring him on the show.
All right, Frank, you may know the USGA mostly for their 14 annual championships and competitions, and their championships are widely looked upon as the ultimate test in golf, but there's a lot about the USGA that you may not know.
Yeah, Mike, like the USGA's innovation team has just come up with a resource management app that helps course superintendents know how to better allocate their resources, and it's helping ensure a better experience for golfers. Plus, the USGA's handicap system helps level the playing field, and it makes the game more social.
Yeah, and along with the RNA in Scotland, the USGA is modernizing the game's rules. They're even asking us for feedback, and they invite us to share it with them anytime online. There's a lot to love about golf, and the greatness of the game brings out the best in all of us. So discover more at usga.org.
So today we're talking with Cordie Walker, founder of Golf Science Lab and host of the Golf Science Lab podcast. For those of you who haven't checked out Cordie's show yet, Golf Science Lab documents the truth about golf. They dive deep into the science and research of the game and help dispel some of the myths that are around the game. I'm a big fan of Cordie's show, and I'm glad to get a chance to talk with him now. Cordie, welcome to the Golf Podcast.
Hey guys, good to be here. How y'all doing?
Doing really well.
Doing great.
Kind of funny. I mean, you are very similar to us in a lot of ways. We talk about on our show how, Mike and I, we're not professional golfers. We're not, certified instructors. We're just big time fans and students of the game. We love learning the game and we love that process. And in a lot of ways, it's very similar, but what you've done. But I wanted to get a chance for you to tell your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about Golf Science Lab.
Yeah, so I've worked with golf instructors and golf coaches for quite a few years. I have spent some time in kind of that education space, trying to share what some of the best instructors are doing with other instructors, and then along the way, started the Golf Science Lab to kind of distill some of what's going on in the academic world, some of what's going on with the best instructors and best teachers, and just kind of sharing what I saw from talking with some of these folks, and try to bring more awareness to a lot of things that are going on, which can have a big impact on how we see golf and how we get better at it. But just not many people were talking about. So it's really been fun. I've traveled all over the world and spent a lot of time with some great coaches and folks, and learned a lot along the way, and been able to bring a lot of things to a lot of folks, whether it's around how we learn, how we get better, how to do it more efficiently, whether it's, how the brain works, or whether it's how the body works in the golf swing. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
That's really cool. And you talk a little bit about, kind of dispelling some of the myths that are out there and using that lens of research and kind of diving a little bit deeper to kind of find out, what's good and what's bad. What do you think has kind of caused golf to go that way over the last couple of years where we do have a lot of, I guess, maybe misinformation and myths? Do you think it's that we're getting bombarded with instruction from every angle? It seems like there's 100,000 YouTube channels with everybody trying to throw instruction at you, or there's 100,000 books on Amazon. What do you think it is that's kind of created that little bit of confusion?
Yeah, well, I mean, what works for you and what works for me might be different. And so, we take this, a lot of people take this one thing that worked for them or that worked for this one person, and then try to put that on everybody. Yeah. Right. And, I heard this little phrase from a couple of folks called, we're all a case study of one. So, we all are different. We all need different things. And so, just trying to apply a formula or apply, something that everybody just isn't going to work. But it's so easy to do because, right? Like, Hey guys, I was out doing this the other day and it worked really well for me. You should do it too. Go do it. Right. Like, right. It's super easy. But that might not be the case. So there's a lot of research that's being done to try to look at, what are some of the things that do apply to most people or the large majority of people, but just no one's looking at it. And it's amazing. There's a lot going on. I went to the World Scientific Congress of Golf last year in St. Andrews and spent a bunch of time with the folks doing the research, and they're awesome people doing some really cool work on how we learn. There was some interesting stuff on quiet eye, this idea of how we use the eyes during putting, stuff on the body. Like there's so much good stuff going on, and let's, I think we should just take a look at it, and why not base some of what we do, some of our actions, some of our beliefs on that versus just, hey, this worked for so-and-so 20 years ago, it should work for me. Maybe not. That might not be the case.
And even outside the world of golf, I mean, just in general, the way the science is developing of learning about the way the body moves and things like that. I've seen a lot on your show where you'll even take some insights that comes from maybe outside the golf world and bring it in, right?
For sure. Like, so there's this idea of focus of attention. So it's where should we put our thought? Where should we put our focus during an action? So in a sense, it's like a swing thought, right? What should we think about during the golf swing? And so there's a bunch of research on this. And we had a guy on, Dr. David Sherwood, who's doing some research on this, and he's doing it in darts. So obviously different. And he's looking at muscle patterns. Like, what are the muscles doing depending on how these dart players think? And so this general idea is like, do you focus internally? Do I focus on like my hand, my wrist, or do I focus externally on like the dartboard or the target, for instance, in this research he's doing? And so he's monitoring the muscle activity. He's looking at and testing these dart players, and what he's finding is that players are more accurate and their muscles are firing differently depending on their focus of attention. And so like, that's just a very simple instance. We can look at that and we can pull it back to, to golf, cause it's going to be a similar thing there, with that action. Some people might say it's not similar. I think it can be applied. I think there are similarities, but you'll have to go listen to that episode to find out what the answer is.
Definitely.
That is sneaky, huh?
That is sneaky. I like it though. I like it. Come from one podcaster to another. I get it. Let me ask you this. Are you, and it's probably a silly question based on how like you like to dive into the research, but are you a stats data guy? Do you like to keep a lot of data on your game?
You know what? I used Arcos for quite a while to gather some data, and this year I have not been doing that. I'm about to embark on a little assessment and some data tracking, actually starting like next week. I need to get serious about my game here. It's July, right? I delayed it far enough. Mm-hmm. So I'm headed out to do an assessment. There's a couple guys, Corey Lundberg and Matt Wilson, who wrote this book called Better Faster, and in it they kind of outline an assessment plan based on that assessment, building out a practice plan on that. And so I want to guinea pig myself and go through that and see what happens with it. So I'm going to embark on that journey here shortly and see what actually happens and go through some of that. And then I'll start tracking some data and basing my practice on that. So about to.
Gotcha. So what do you think? Do you think from a golf science standpoint, are we in the heyday right now with the amount of data that everyone can collect on their game? Like Arcos, like that right there. This is a level of data that only if you were on the PGA Tour 5 years ago, you would have had, pen and pencil. You could never even put that much, down. So do you think we're in the heyday? Do you think this is good? Do you think we're giving people too much information? What's your kind of thought process there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we obviously can have all the data. Now it's like, what do you do with it? Right. So I have all this. Now how do I train with this? Right. Like I know this, like I missed some greens. What do I do now? Right. Or like I see this or that, and you see these different things. Like how do you build a training plan that's actually going to get you better? Mm-hmm. I think that's the next thing is building efficient and effective practice is going to be huge. But I think we're still in the infancy. We just did a series of podcasts on biomechanics, and I was talking with Dr. Phil Cheatham. He's one of these guys that did one of the first 3D systems back in the day, and he's one of the pioneers in the industry. And he said biomechanics is still in its infancy, for instance, just because the technology is getting more inexpensive, it's getting smaller, it's getting lighter, it's getting easier to use, and as technology improves and as things get better, we're only going to see more and more research being done, more and more data, and then more and more people figuring out how to apply that effectively. So I think, it's only going to be getting better. That's for sure. And we're only going to be figuring out how to use it more effectively and efficiently. So I think it's exciting for sure.
It certainly is. Yeah. Like you said, from a biomechanics standpoint, now we're looking at, $100 for some of these devices that Bluetooth, you put them on your club, you take a couple swings and you see it right on your smartphone of like your entire swing path. So it's pretty tremendous. But, the one thing that kind of we always come back to, and we talk about this a lot, is that for all the advancements in golf club technology and for all this other stuff that we've seen from the way that we learn the game, generally speaking, you hear that old adage that the average, handicap has not gotten any better over whatever it's been, the last couple decades. Do you think we're at a tipping point? Do you think that we're going to start to see the average golfer getting better because of all of this new technology and new methods of learning? Or do you think it's just going to still be separated by the few who get it and the few who put the work in are going to be good, and the rest of the pack, it doesn't matter how much you throw at them, it's just not going to get any better?
I'm going to go a hard no. I don't think the handicap is going to get better. I don't know why it would necessarily, because it's still the same people playing.
Right.
Like,
I'm just thinking more the access. There's more people who have access to more tools, but do you think that's going to translate on a grander scale? Do you think that, people across the board are going to get better at the game?
No, because the mindset's got to change and the culture around learning has to change. If people keep going to the driving range, thinking that they've figured it out after 20 minutes because they're hitting their 7-iron a little bit straighter, that means that they're getting better. And that is the culture, I think, at this point. And that's not the reality. The reality is that learning happens through mistakes. It happens through making errors. It happens through embracing that challenge and looking at difficulties as something that you want during practice, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a whole paradigm shift and a whole culture that needs to change around learning in golf, because the driving range and 7-irons and our obsession with swing technique does not mean lower scores on the golf course. In my opinion, that's what I see for sure. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's what I kind of believe.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because so much of the culture, like you say, it's a lot of frustration with the game and quick fixes. People just want to just fix whatever was going wrong at that moment. But it's more, I guess from your standpoint, and if so, I definitely agree, is that just diving deeper and actually enjoying the learning process rather than always be chasing whatever number, breaking 80 or whatever it may be.
Sure.
And what I liked in your recent episode, you talked about that mindset of a super learner. You talk about that's where the change has to really happen. And we could throw all the technology in the world at it. It's all great tools, but it's really just, it's kind of whose hands is it in? And you've got to embrace that, right?
Yeah, and the reality is that's super hard. I on that episode, I think I was like, guys, isn't this just like the mindsets of people that are excellent in whatever they do, like their jobs or whatever it is, right? Like, we're just talking about like how to be a better person, and like that's not easy, right? And so like it's hard, because like mindsets like this are something that go throughout your entire life in a sense. So you have to adopt it not only in golf, and then there's like, this is going to apply to life. But anyways, I think that's a great thing, because all the stuff that we look at with golf, whether it's with learning, research, performance, et cetera, to me, it all transfers to all areas of life, right? If I improve my understanding of how people learn golf, right? How we learn and how we get better, I'm going to be able to apply that to, anything, right? Whether it's my job, whether it's a new activity I want to get into, like all of this is applies to everything. That's why the research is so interesting, because it is similar across all these different fields. So that's why I think this is so cool, though. It's hard because it's not just about golf. It's about kind of like your whole person and who you are. But that's also the awesome part, because that makes this more meaningful than just hitting a dumb white ball around the field, right?
Exactly. And it's true. The synergies there, I mean, from everything from positive thinking, which we harp on, constantly, and shifting your thought patterns there, to something even as simple as mindfulness, or you could say as complex as mindfulness, that we talk about a lot. And we talk about, those types of things, or routines, pre-shot routines, it works its way into golf. But as you said, as you learn these things, they're just applicable across the board. When you're more mindful, you're better pretty much at everything you do, not just playing the game. So that is a cool thing. And I think it's great that golf kind of is another channel that brings us down that road. Well, I want to shift gears just real quick, and I want to make sure before I let you go, I want to get your take on one thing. I've seen a lot of on your Instagram account and stuff like that, you posting some of your stories, the single length irons. I want to get your take. What do you think?
Yes, no, I have a set of the Adele single lengths. I've chatted with David Adele about them and kind of development, and I think it makes sense from like a logical perspective, right?
Yeah.
And when I got fit for them, I did improve the dispersion went down, because the clubs were shorter and I was making better contact. So I was hitting it closer to kind of my aim point. So I am excited. I'm going to be doing more experimenting with them here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to spend a good, I think like 2 to 4 weeks playing only with the single lengths and just really see if I can make it work. Right. Like I'm like everybody else. I've always played normal irons my whole life ever since I was a little kid. So like, obviously some skepticism there.
Yep.
But I mean, logically it makes sense. I want it to work out because it seems like a great premise, and it could be this, you want it to be like this hidden advantage, right? Like we get back to that quick fix idea. Like, is this the secret? Could I gain a stroke by getting? No. I think it could really help. So I'm going to spend 2 to 4 weeks. The Adele, I mean, they're beautiful golf clubs. I can't deny it. They're fantastic looking. So I'm going to put them in the bag for 2 to 4 weeks, see what happens and report back. But the fitting, it improved. They should be perfect. I do have to say the sand wedge is awfully weird though. Hitting that sand wedge. It's a different experience. But I mean, to have a 4-iron, that 7-iron length, I believe that's what mine are. And hitting it, the same distance as I hit my normal 4-iron, like that's pretty nuts though.
It is. It almost defies logic because you use that length for that club head speed, but definitely keep us posted because I'm interested to see how the longer term testing goes because they hit the scene really big recently. It was kind of in everyone's consciousness, but look, I mean, your show is all really about diving into the actual research and really putting that work in. And then you get a guy like Bryson DeChambeau who just won last week. And, he's like kind of the tour's resident, tinkerer. And he's playing them. So everybody's kind of talking about them. And then everybody's wondering, is it a kind of a magic bullet? I think just like anything in golf, there's not, as you started talking about, there's no magic bullet. There's no one thing that's right for everyone, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong for anyone. So, for sure. Keep us posted on how that goes. I love following your Instagram account and following along with you, testing them out.
Thanks, man.
Before we wrap it up, can you just, let our listeners know a little bit more about how they can get involved with Golf Science Lab, where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. So the podcast Golf Science Lab, just head over to the website, I think golfsciencelab.com, and you can get links to iTunes or Google Play, wherever you listen, and find it there. We just have done some really cool series, super practical with a few coaches. So Lynn and Pia are behind Vision 54, just incredible coaches. We did a series with them on how to be a player. And then we did another series on how to get better faster with 2 coaches, Corey Lundberg and Matt Wilson. Those are recent, so you can find those. And then on Instagram, like you mentioned, I enjoy posting there all types of random stuff, so you can follow along. Yeah,
the stories are the fun part, getting to see out there and actually hitting the links and being out there. So that's really cool.
For sure.
All right. Once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been great chatting with you. And anybody who hasn't had a chance to check it out, definitely check out Golf Science Lab podcast. And keep us posted on how things go because it's just there's so much great research in the game right now, and it's great to see somebody who's staying on top of it.
Thanks, man. Keep up the podcast, and we'll keep listening here. And thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Okay, so again. Lots there. There's way too much that can be covered in a quick interview. I just wanted to get a chance to introduce anybody who hasn't had a chance to check out what Cordie's doing yet. I want to get a chance to introduce you guys to that because as you know, we talk about a lot of concepts here. We talk about the mental game. We talk about our experience with it. But one thing, if you're the type of guy who really likes to dive really deep into like the studies and stuff like that go on behind it. And if you're like, really into that technology and stuff like that, this is definitely a good show to check out as well. I mean, his shows are great. They're short and sweet, 20 minutes, about that long. I like to listen to them whenever I can on a short drive because like I said, it's a lot of the concepts we discuss here, but going on a very deep level and really kind of diving into the research behind why certain things like that work. So if you're the type of person who really likes to tinker and get really kind of deep into stuff, that's definitely a show you're going to want to check out. So that's Golf Science Lab. We'll include a lot of that in the show notes, which you can get to by going to golficity.com/episode 177. Mike, do you have anything else before we wrap it up tonight?
No, man, just bring that A game on Friday. Big tournament round. Get some sleep if you can. No excuses. Let's do it.
I know. I'm a little nervous. This is definitely the longest stretch I've gone without playing regularly and then trying to play in this tournament. But what are you going to do? I've played once in 4 weeks. Sometimes though, a little distance from the game gives some clarity. So,
happened to me today. I haven't played in 2 weeks and I played fantastic.
That's it. All right. Before we wrap it up, once again, I want to thank this week's sponsor, the USGA. You may know the USGA mostly for its championships, but did you know the USGA is working to modernize golf's rules by making them easier to understand and apply, and that they're working with golf facilities to help reduce their dependency on critical resources, including a reliance on water, or the fact that the USGA's handicap system is used in more than 40 countries around the world. There's a lot to love about golf, and the greatness of the game brings out the best in all of us. Discover more at usga.org. Okay, so like we said, follow along, join the Facebook group. It's 100% free. Same thing with our Instagram, our YouTube channel. I know we're kind of everywhere, but look, each platform kind of serves its purpose. We get to put the longer form videos on YouTube and the short little behind the scenes, unedited fun stuff that we're doing. We put that in our Instagram account. That's all at Golficity. Wherever you are, it's at Golficity. You'll be able to find us. So get in there. Get signed up for the tournament, the virtual open, play your round. Either way, win or lose, you're going to have fun and it's free and you get a chance to win some really great prizes. More information at golficity.com/open. All right. We'll see you out there. Hit them straight. Enjoy it.